So what I wanted to talk to you about today was the Tao. Now, I've had my students and anyone who else, that's following along with us, we're going through this Wayne Dyer book on the Tao. We're doing a chapter at random every week where we just get up on the same day, meditate, read the same chapter, that sort of thing. So we're all kind of connected underneath. The largest living being there is on the earth, the largest living creature on earth is an aspen grove in Colorado. It seems that the aspens are all connected underneath. They're actually one being, and they can cover 50, 60 square miles or 100 square miles. It's a huge aspen grove. But underneath, you don't see how they're connected, but you just see these, what seems to be each individual tree growing up out of the earth. But they're all connected underneath. And so when we're doing something with an intention to be connected underneath, then we are connected underneath. It kind of works that way. So those of you that have been following the Tao and reading these little verses and kind of most of the time scratching your head, what does he mean by this? And I don't understand it. I fully kind of get your I won't say confusion, but your befuddlement, maybe befuddlement. So today I want to talk about the Tao. What is the Tao? Who are you? Where did you come from? What are you made of? What's all of this made of? What is this thing we call the journey? What are these things called? The path, the way, the dharmic path. What do these things mean? So when we start looking at ourselves inwardly, we are immediately confronted with duality. I'm sitting here, you're sitting there, we're separate. I'm sitting on this chair, the chair has me sitting on it, we're separate. There's a distance between me and that wall over there. Who am I? Where do I end? Where do I begin? And what happens in this life is that we get our information from outside coming in, from our vision, from our sight and our hearing and that sort of thing. Everything seems to come from us from outside. And we're immediately caught up in the immensity of the universe. And especially as you grow every day, your awareness of this particular incarnation grows every day. When I was in second grade, I had a world. It had boundaries. I had never been out of, I'd never been within 200 miles of where I was born until I was 7. And then every time we would go on a trip or do something with my family, my dad liked to travel, my world would change. We'd go to a little village that I had no idea it even existed. And here we are at the village, going out and buying candy or something. My world was always getting bigger. And so it seems to me like that everything is outside of me. It's coming to me from outside. My mama fed me and when I was young, and I'm getting fed. Everything's come to me from outside. And I really don't pay too much attention to what's inside of me. I'm so busy looking at the stars and the universes. And especially when I was in a university, New Mexico State University, and in their physics class, the professor, it's kind of a funny story. I was a music major. And so our class was physics for music majors. Let's just say it was pretty, say, a simplistic approach, because that's all we could handle. But we spent 2 weeks talking about the speed of light, how fast it would go and how far it would go. The speed of light measured in light years, going the speed of light for a year is 1 light year. And at that time, the universe was, I think, 3 billion light years old. You could go from one part of the universe back in those days, 3 billion years. I'm sure it's gotten much larger now. And by the end of the 2 weeks of thinking about planets and the size of stars and the size of a star compared to our sun and so on and so forth, we felt so incredibly small. We're on this little planet and we see things out there, you know, like trees and buildings. And it's hard to imagine the distance between here and our sun. It takes light minutes to get here. And that's going very, very fast. And this is just our little solar system. And we were looking at universes and galaxies and all of these things, and you just felt so incredibly, incredibly small. And then he spent 2 weeks, this is Dr. Mitchell, my physics teacher, delightful man. We spent 2 weeks talking about, you know, atomic theory. And he started talking about how small things were. We went from, you know, cells to molecules to atoms, and we had the periodic table. The smallest atom was, of course, the hydrogen atom. And he said, these are incredibly, incredibly small. He says, you have no idea how small these atoms are. He said, if we were to go to an atomic atom and blew the nucleus up to the size of our sun, and the electrons going around would be the planets, and we were on one of those little electrons, the same distance it would be from that electron to my nose, if it was in my stomach, from my stomach to my nose, would be as much distance as it is from my nose to the furthest reaches of outer space. You are infinitely large and infinitely small. String theory tells us that if in that scenario where we go back into where we're just like on that little electron, that a string, which they're talking about string theories, would be the size of one of those trees out there. And that tree out there is incredibly small compared to the Earth. And I'm sure they'll find, it just goes on. What I'm suggesting here is that the universe does not have any edges in any way. Its only edge is your mind, what you can comprehend, what you can embody within your own structures. You're infinitely large and infinitely small. You're mostly made of nothing. It's a hard concept to gather, but I think you're starting to see where I'm going here. The interesting thing about this is that our realities are only our particular reality. I am at the center of the universe, my universe. And my universe is only defined by my ability to apprehend what's going on out there in the infinite. I have a limited CPU system going on here. I have a mental capacity that has a limit. I have limitations as to what I can actually view with my eyes, and even what I can view with a telescope. It would depend upon the strength of the telescope. Whatever I have is centered in my consciousness. And this is my world. Nobody else has it but me. Now, I share parts of my world with all of you. We meet, we have dinner, we eat, maybe go to a movie, we laugh. We have a good time together. But we're always separate. Our consciousness, our soul, that part of you that's putting all of this together is unique to you. Nobody's had your past lives. Nobody was raised in your family like you were. I mean, I had two brothers, but they were different. They were older. The sibling order was different. I was treated much different than my oldest brother. He broke the ground. I mean, they were strict on him. And my middle brother came along and they were kind of pretty good with him. And then when I came along, we just spoiled rotten. So we were all different, even in the same family. Everybody has their own view. And part of my reality is made up of you and everyone else, my neighbors, my animals. But I'm infinitely large and infinitely small. And the center of the universe is right here. It's the same for you. You have no idea how powerful you are. So here we are sitting in our heart. And every day our ego is going out and taking in information and creating a reality and associating this with that and putting it into language of some sort. But who are you underneath? Who is that person? You're not who you think you are. You're much more incredible than that. So I'm sitting in this space. And the reason I know that there is no center, that I'm at the center, is because I have no edges. The universe stretches out forever in every direction, large and small, in and out. It's all one. You are at the center of the universe. You may only be aware of your smallness, but that doesn't mean that you're not infinitely large at the same time. Not only that, but time and space is unique to you. It's different for everybody. How do I know this? Tell you how you can find out. Get a 4-year-old child, and have them sit and say, okay, Susie and Bill, I want you to sit right there. We're going to sit still for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, okay? We're going to sit here for 5 minutes. Don't move. To me, at 74, 5 minutes is going to be like 2. To them, 5 minutes is going to be like a week. Time moves so slow for them. Why? Well, because their CPU is not clogged up with all this data and it moves really fast. So the faster it moves, the slower time appears to be. But not only that, our modality of time shifts within the infinite. So time, space, matter, it's all made of something not seen. We can call it the Tao. You could call it spirit. But spirit, I don't particularly like that one because it's a beautiful, don't get me wrong, I like spirit. Well, I like spirit. But the thing about it is that when you say spirit, it's like saying meditation. People think they know exactly what you're talking about, but there's so many ways to meditate. Or if I say, visualize an automobile, well, everybody's going to visualize a different one, most likely. But the Tao, nobody knows anything about the Tao, so we'll call it the Tao. Okay, so let's see, we've established that you're nothing. And what you're seeing and apprehending is everything, which is a result of nothing. So when we get into this discussion of the Tao, it becomes very much like Zen. I had a teacher tell me once that if you put Tao and Buddhism together, you would end up with Zen. I kind of think that's true. Zen is the way. It is the flow of creation. It is unimpeded. It is like water. It flows. If it hits an object, it just flows around it. It's soft, and yet it can wear down the hardest things. The Tao is the movement of spirit upon itself. So as I'm talking to you, I'm moving into the Tao. In the Tao, there's no resistance. It's just a flow. It is not dependent upon anyone else. It is complete within itself. It does not need to be defined. It defies definition. Anything we say about the Tao is just a poor representation of its true nature. We use words like infinite and unconditional love and the Dharma, and all of these things. They don't come close. You are not defined by what people tell you who you are. You're defined by how you react and relate to yourself and to others, and how you can flow without resistance. In this infinite creation, where we are infinitely large and infinitely small, there is a movement upon the waters. And what I focus on, I tend to experience. If I'm aggressive, I will experience aggression. If I'm fearful, I will experience terrifying things. What you focus on becomes your reality. It's very important during this time that we watch what we focus on. I see the world getting caught up in self-righteous judgment about how other people should be and how other people should act. And if they don't act this way, then they must be punished. I also see people who are so self-righteous that they feel it is their duty to curse bad players, to rejoice in somebody who's being, well, we could say a bad player, a bad guy. We rejoice when they get like somebody said that there's no such thing as a coronavirus. There's no such thing as a coronavirus. And then they get it. And part of us goes, yeah, they finally got it. No, no, no. In the Tao, we can't go that way. In the Tao, we realize that two wrongs don't make anything right. It just makes two wrongs. I could repeat that 100 times, and maybe some of you would start to get it, that revenge, getting even, not forgiving people is two wrongs. You hang on to your aggression, you hang on to your fears, you hang on to your egoic self that says you were hurt or abused or whatever, and that's your life. You just live there. But followers of the Tao seek to go with the flow. When somebody criticizes what you're doing, you take a breath. Instead of defending yourself and telling them that they're wrong, you take a breath. Maybe they're right. And even if they're not, why do they have their point of view? I think that would be an interesting place to start. Why do they feel the way they do? And why did they get drawn into that in the first place? And pretty soon we get drawn into all of this stuff. And finally you say, no, I'm just going to go with the flow. When you first enter into the Tao, there's silence and stillness. At least that's the way it is for me. I become just automatically very still. My thoughts stop. And sometimes the room turns gold. Sometimes it doesn't. But I know when my thoughts are stopped. Now, I've found that it is possible to stop your thoughts, to be perfectly still, and still do action. I've entered into the Tao. I'm not channeling, I'm just entered into the Tao. I have no thoughts. And yet I'm communicating with you the best I can through English. But as I'm trying to do that, talking about how large you are, how small you are, how undefined you are, how undefined everything is, that you give it definition, that you put flesh on those bones. And it's you, it's nobody else. So what we come into these worlds with is we come into this dream, this incredible dream in which I am the center of my universe. I'm being affected by everyone and everything around me all the time. I'm being pressed into a certain reality. I am being pushed by the forces around me, the people and the experiences and the places I live. I fall into a certain consciousness, a certain way of looking at life. And when I remove myself from that and go to another place, I will reflect a different consciousness, a different way of life. My teacher would move his students for many years. He'd move them about once a year, move from San Diego to Los Angeles to San Francisco to Washington to Boston, to New York. I mean, he was moving all the time, and every place he went, they accessed a different reality. Every town had a different situation, a different feeling, and it caused them to grow in their. It caused them to loosen up a little bit, I guess, is a better way to do it. They loosened up on how they were seeing the world only from San Francisco, and then they're in Washington, D.C., which is a completely different environment. And they're picking up on that energy and incorporating that into their realities. And now they got San Francisco and Boston, Washington. Now they're going to go to Boston and add another one. And in all of this, meditating and dropping away, letting go, surrendering to what? I'm surrendering to God. Is God separate from you? A month or so ago, I invited you to contemplate 5 words: omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, and the Alpha and the Omega. If you had done that, you would have started entering into the Tao. God, Christ, all of the angels, all of the ascended masters, all the human beings, from the highest to the lowest, to the demonic energies, satanic energies. It's all just part of the Tao. It's not the Tao. The Tao is all of that, but none of that. You say, well, how can God be something else? Well, God is part of the Tao, as is everything. Christ said, the rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. The Tao flows through everyone, the just and the unjust. And what we focus on, we start to create. And through the law of attraction, we start to create people around that think like we do. So we end up in a bubble. In America, half of the people look at one network and another half look at the other network. And while looking at the same news feeds, there's completely different ways of interpreting it. And it divided the country. And everyone that watches one particular network is surrounded by friends and people who only listen to that, and they think that's the truth. Where do you fit in with that? Are you willing to let go and just for a little bit entertain the thought that the other people have value too? That their points of view are just as good to them as yours is to you. This is why when we do the Tao, we look first of all for empathy. Empathy tells us that I'm seeking to really understand what you are going through. I'm really trying to find out what your experience is as much as I can. I'm trying to empathize with you. I'm not having pity. I'm not feeling sorry for you. I'm trying to really understand where you're coming from, and not from a judgmental point of view. And once I get a take on it, I can look at myself and I can have compassion. You can't have compassion without empathy. And a life without compassion is a life of horror. It's being a zombie, just walking around half dead. The dead in Christ, waiting for the resurrection, the second coming that will awaken them from their sleep and bring them into the higher consciousness. This is happening in every one of us all of the time. We're waking from a sleep, what Buddha referred to as the nightmare of the day. And as we awaken, we start tuning into the Tao. We quit resisting. We start to flow. We start to understand what it means to have unconditional love. We really understand selfless giving, recognizing that in selfless giving, we're honoring the Tao. As I align myself with my highest nature, you can call it God or whatever you want to call it, but it's the highest thing you can think of, then you're starting to align yourself with the Tao. But sometimes we get stuck up in some sort of a philosophy that is completely caught up in duality. And the Tao is not about duality. The Tao is about unity. It's about oneness. And yet inside that oneness, each one of us has our own little point of view, our own little field of attention. And in that, we are constantly learning from the field of attention of others, from our own experiences, from the earth itself, from the stars, from the atoms. The Tao is here. The Tao is perfect. The Tao is eternal. It is what we're made of. It is everything that I see and the space between what I see. As I enter into the Tao, for me, the world becomes very bright, undefined. I start seeing different dimensions. I sink into light. So you can be in the Tao and be doing a lot of things. When you drive your car, you're using the Tao. Think about it. When you first started to learn how to drive, it was very complicated. There's the accelerator and there's the brake pedal. And in my day, there was a clutch. I'll go back even further. And there was also a starter button on the floorboard. I go back a long ways. But it's very complicated. You get behind that big wheel and you start the engine up, you put on the clutch and you put it in gear and then you let out the clutch and the car rolls forward and dies. So then you let it out too slow and the clutch starts to smell because you're not letting off the clutch. It takes a while to learn to drive. And then you're driving and you're looking out this mirror and you're looking out that mirror and you're looking down and you're looking up and you're looking. You're a terrible driver. You're a beginner. But after you've driven a while, there's no thought. You get in the car, you turn it on, you drive. You're in the Tao. That wasn't hard, was it? You learn how to ride a bicycle. You fall down. Parent or a brother or a friend gets you going, pushes you, holds you up for a little bit, gives you instruction. Pretty soon you're going your own way, and then you make a turn and you fall down. Pretty soon you get back. Within a month, you're just riding everywhere and you're not even thinking about it. You have entered into the Tao of bicycle riding. You don't have to sit and think, oh, I've got to keep my balance and I've got to turn this and I've got to watch. No, you just do it. Some people practice Tai Chi. And they're all into this and pushing and pulling and this and that and this. It's a flow. It can look very aggressive, but it is a flow. That same flow is what you use when you drive a car, and you're just in no thought. You're being aware. You're being aware of the driving. You're being aware that you're not spacing out and astral traveling off to Italy or someplace. You're in your car. You're very present, but you're not. You're in the Tao of it. You're not totally focused on every little thing. You're just driving. Watch this. The Tao. Notice how aware you are. Don't focus on anything. Notice you're not thinking. And yet here you are, listening to me. The Tao. So, I don't know if this makes any sense to you at all. But I kind of felt, since we're doing the Tao every day, that I would at least give you a little bit of my take. Can you live and move and breathe lost in the spirit? Can you let go of your egoic structures that measure everything you do by what other people think or what you've been taught was correct, and you don't really believe it, but you do it anyway, Can you just let go? Let go of how you think it ought to be. When somebody says something's wrong, that you did something wrong, just admit that they're right. What are you defending? If they want to fight, just walk away. Flow. Non-resistance. Perfection. Simplicity. Right thinking. Right action. Right occupation. Being aware of the oneness. Being aware of the infinite that's both inside of you and outside of you. And coming in touch with the infinite nature of your very consciousness, of how the miracle of your soul and this whole incredible creation and all of its dimensions is nothing but any love. There's so much magic in the world, experience it all in one lifetime. There's so much to experience in the world. You'll never experience it in any particular. We're just here for a moment, and then we're gone. But where did we go? We go together. We'll always be together. How can we be apart? When my teacher passed, I wanted to cry. I wanted to mourn. I wanted to pound my pillow and just cry until there were no more tears. And I went in and I threw myself on the bed to do just that. And I couldn't because he would not let me. He laughed at me. He said, just because I'm not in the body, you think I'm gone? I could never mourn him. I wanted to, but I couldn't. Oneness. We are eternal, my friends. Don't be afraid. On the 21st, we enter into the Age of Aquarius. A new age. Now, things are not going to happen right away. It may unfold in the next few decades. Many years ago, there was this thing called the harmonic convergence. So all of the planets lined up. One of those times where the world was supposed to end. That was the beginning of the change. This is the end of it. We will officially enter into the Age of Aquarius at the winter solstice. Most remarkable. Most remarkable that we chose to incarnate here for this experience. Don't be afraid. Yeah, I know there's plagues and people are dying, and you may die. I mean, we could all die. We all will. But that's not the point. The point is, how are you living? Are you living in fear? Are you living in an angry, judgmental mindset? Are you so busy trying to gain revenge on people that's harmed you that you don't see what you're doing to yourself? Everyone on this planet is making a choice. And they're making a choice to either align with the Tao or to oppose it. I'm highly recommending aligning with the Tao because I see what's coming ahead. Past all of the conflict and all of the, all the death and destruction and horror. I see beyond that. I see the perfection. I do the same thing when I look at you. I see beyond all of that. And I see the perfection. Can you look beyond all of that? Everything in your life. And see perfection. So contemplate the Tao. I hope this helps you as you're reading through this little book that Wayne Dyer spent a year doing. So it's a worthwhile book to read. It's good to know the Tao. It's good to be the Tao. To know the flow of perfection. There are 10,000 ways, 10,000 choices you can make on any situation. There are 10,000 choices you can make. But there's one choice that is the perfect choice. It fits perfectly with all the circumstances. And that has been known as the way, as the Dharma, following the Dharma, following the Tao. Align yourself with the Tao. Feel the perfection. Feel the completeness. Feel the wholeness. Feel the vastness. So vast. Feel the peace. And love everything that you see and do. Good luck with this. It's a worthwhile activity. This is a good thing to place your mind on. Being one with spirit, feeling the flow of spirit, not resisting, but giving. Well, I hope this has benefited you. I've had a good time. And I'll see you next Sunday. In this week, just be careful. Go with the Tao. Do what's right. Don't be arrogant. Don't be so judgmental. Seek peace within yourself. Forgive everyone that you have animosity to. That gets you into the Tao. If you harm someone, go try to make amends. See if you can make amends. That's the Tao. If someone is suffering, comfort. If someone is angry, calm them down. If someone is dying, hold them in the light of your heart as they make their transition. We all will make that transition. We never save a life, we just prolong it. When it's time to go, it's time to go. And right now, a lot of people are choosing to go. I don't think we are, though. I think we're here for a while because we came here. I don't think we came here to die. I think we came here to push through into the new age. That's what we're here to do. All of us are here to help everyone into this new age. And by flowing with the Tao, we bring a sense of purpose and direction into a chaotic world. We bring generosity into a world that's stingy. We bring peace into a world that has known only war and suffering. We're bringing in a new consciousness, the consciousness of the Tao. Good. Namaste.